All right. So welcome everybody to tonight's presentation, tonight's workshop titled How Community Partnerships Can Supercharge Your Grooming Business. Tonight we have a special guest, Amy Hillis. She's the co-founder and director of community engagement at Social Pet Hotel and Daycare. It's a string of three resorts is the word I would use, but Amy, I'll let you describe it how you will, in Charlotte. She has been crushing it. She came on last year and taught. I think, Amy, you had two resorts when you were on last year, so you're up to a third. And she knows what she's doing, to say the least. Before we kind of get really into the meat of this, I always like to ask whose first workshop this is. And what this helps us do is kind of dive deeper or reference some other things there. So I want you guys to use the chat real quick and tell me if you guys have been here before. Have you guys been on the workshop before or not? Just a simple yes or no will work just fine. Let me get up the chat here for you. Cool. All right, see, yes, second, first time, nice. First timer, been here a few times, awesome, guys. Okay, well then a little bit about the Daily Groomer, just so everybody's on the same page. Let me make sure. There we go. So the Daily Groomer is the #1 online community for dog grooming. We focus on education, community, and resources. We have a large Facebook group for grooming business owners to discuss, share ideas, share advice on how to grow and streamline grooming businesses. It's free. Every piece of content and education that's offered through the Daily Groomer is 100% free. Literally costs you nothing to join and be a part of this. We believe education is the only way to move this industry forward, hence why we're all here tonight, right? So I'd recommend heading over to our website, thedailygroomer.com, and joining. You guys will see a lot of the people that are here tonight in that community as well. On top of that, we are also the founders of Teddy. Teddy is a all-in-one system for grooming businesses. We help you streamline your calendar, effectively communicate with your clients, and we also offer an AI receptionist. So anyways, with that being said, that's a little bit about us and why we're here tonight. And we have giants in our presence, aka Amy Hillis, to teach us how to be better at community partnerships. So a little bit about Amy. Amy is the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Social Pet Hotel and Daycare. She's the chair of Professional Animal Care Certification Council Board. That is a mouthful. PAC is how I'm going to be pronouncing that going forward here. She's a certified professional animal care operator, pet tech instructor, and fear-free certified professional. She's also an international thought leader, speaker, author, and entrepreneur in the pet care service industry. As you can see, Amy has literally no pedigree here, so she's just making this stuff up as she goes. Kidding. She's obviously very well pedigreed. So again, we're very grateful for her sharing her time and her resources with us tonight. All right. You guys are probably sick and tired of hearing me talk, so Amy, the rest is yours. You guys will hear from me kind of at the end of this, and we'll wrap up and how you guys get the resources, the guides, the topic of the podcast or the presentation, excuse me, and the recording. Amy, over to you.
Awesome. All right. Let me get my screen shared real quick. And desktop 1, that's the one we want. Share. And all right, can you guys see? There's a lot of little pop-ups. All right, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, great. All right. So thank you so much for that introduction. It's truly an honor for me to be here. I love educating and teaching. That was what I did in my prior life before opening a pet care business. So as Alex said, we're going to be talking about community partnerships and how those can really supercharge your grooming business. So I am a certified professional animal care operator. Through PAC, I am fear-free certified. I'm a pet CPR and first aid instructor. And then in terms of Social Pet, our business, I am the co-founder and director of community engagement. So lots of different things, wear a lot of different hats. That's what we do when we work in our businesses for sure. So Social Pet is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've got 3 locations and we've been in business for about 11 years. I'm leading the marketing efforts and the community engagement, community partnership efforts. Charlotte is a very, very saturated market. Most of you probably have not heard me speak before, but if you have, I always talk about how much competition we have in our area. And we've got over 100 daycare, boarding, grooming businesses just right in our immediate area. So there's tons of competition. We have to really work to differentiate ourselves because there's tons of chains, tons of private equity, and we are a small family business. It's my husband and I, and we just started Social Pet with, the money that we had essentially, and then a lot of debt, obviously too, but we got out of that. So we're going to be talking about different things with community partnerships since we really started measuring these partnerships and leading into that more. We've grown our revenue about 39% year over year from 2023 to 2024. So it's something that we really believe in. And even though my background is primarily daycare and boarding, these are strategies that will work for grooming. They'll pretty much work for any type of business in terms of just how to partner with different people in the community. You'll also see a QR code on the screen, and you're going to see that on a couple of slides. You'll see it on the next slide, and then you'll also see it on the last slide. And that's going to give you access to the slide deck. And it's also going to give you access to several handouts that should help you if you want to implement the strategies that we talk about. And then, of course, if there's anything else that you feel like you need that I don't share with you, you can just send me an email and let me know. So here's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about why partnerships matter first, besides just the obvious of we need to market and make money. What are some of the other reasons why partnerships matter? We're going to talk about how to identify ideal partners and how to collaborate between pet care businesses and vets and other local organizations, how to leverage those partnerships, how to utilize influencers. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about a marketing plan and how to make this all happen with a dedicated position. So I know we're all in different places with our business. Some of us have larger businesses, some of us are, have a smaller staff, but there's opportunity to do this regardless of the size of your business. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So here's, again, just a little bit about Social Pet. I just like to share just so you guys can have some context. So we have 3 locations. We've been in business for about 11 years. We've got about 75, 80-ish employees. And grooming is about 10% of our revenue. So again, I know we're more daycare boarding focused, but we're continuing to build on our grooming department. So in terms of our marketing department history, we really didn't have a dedicated marketing person until about 2019. And so we hired somebody at that time. She really helped to get our branding, our fonts, colors, voice, all of that really cohesive. And so if you haven't done that, that is something that you want to do. You're going to see throughout the slideshow the same reds, the same blues, all of those different things. So, make sure you get your brand, your branding together. So she did that. We had to lay her off for COVID. And then when we brought somebody back, then that person is what really helped to propel us to this trajectory of getting involved with the community. So he has actually recently just left to take on a new position. He's, 22 and wanted to spend the summer at the beach. So I was like, how do you say no to that? But the way that we worked this relationship with the two of us is he was in charge of marketing and I was in charge of community engagement. So he was doing our social media. He was doing preparation for different events, making sure we had supplies and things that we needed for any trade show booths or any event booths that we were doing. He was the liaison between Social Pet and any sponsors or any community organizations that we were working with. And so I'm essentially handling the strategy and representing the brand and the community and the industry. And then he's really helping me to tie it all together. So that's kind of how that worked for us. We didn't start out that way. I don't think you need to start out that way, especially if you have a smaller team or your budget is limited. But as you grow, it may make sense to have one person dedicated to marketing, social media, those, tangible tasks that need to be done, and then have somebody else who's assigned to the community representation. And the best person, I think, to do that community engagement and representation is really the owner of the business, because you eat, sleep, and breathe it. And so you really understand how it should be represented in the community. So in terms of why partnerships matter, of course, we need to partner with shelters and things like that. It's the right thing to do. We want to do that. It gets our brand out there. For our staff, it's critical because our staff love pets. They love we're a dog business. They love dogs. And these partnerships help our staff connect with their why they're working for us when they could be working somewhere else. What we found is that sometimes our team feels bad not working in a rescue environment. They feel like there's all these dogs that are really in need and they need our help. And here we are at Social Pet. We're the most expensive in Charlotte for daycare, for boarding, typically for grooming as well. And so it kind of feels a little icky sometimes, like we're pricing people out who are in need of pet care. And so what we're able to do with these partnerships is that we can show our staff that we need to take care of the dog while they're in the shelter before they're rescued. And then we're also providing a place for the dog after they're adopted. People with means, pet parents with, money and the ability to take care of these pets, we provide a place for these dogs to go because of how we operate, because we provide this very unique, customized care. And we've had people say that to us, that if it wasn't for us, they'd have to rehome their dog. So we connect back to their why. And then we also provide paid volunteer opportunities. And so we will go out into the community with the different relationships that we have with the different animal shelters or just other organizations. And our people they'll be paid, but they're essentially doing volunteer work. And so what you'll see on the screen here, this is 3 of our team members who spent a day at Animal Care and Control in Charlotte. And they were cleaning out kennels, they were giving baths, they were just essentially doing the same type of thing that they do at Social Pet, but it's a lot more fun when you're doing it in the shelter for dogs who are really in need. So especially with grooming, this is a really great thing that we do. We will have our newer groomers go into, animal control or the Humane Society or wherever, and they will do grooms and baths and things on dogs that need to be adopted. It's great practice for them. They're still getting paid. And then it's great marketing for us as well, because we're showing that, we truly do care about these pets and helping them to find a home. So there's a lot of different ways to make that work. In terms of clients, it helps to tap into their hero mindset. Clients always want to feel like, they can recommend a business that feels good to them. And they feel good when they can recommend a business that's giving back to the community. So we're tapping into that mindset. And then we're also creating a network of resources. And so with the community work that we do, we're partnered up with multiple shelters, with pet stores, with other groomers, with just lots of different organizations, schools, things like that. And so it really helps get our brand out there. There's so much competition now. And I don't know what it's like where you guys live, but again, for us, it is between private equity, between different franchises and people who just started learning how to cut their dog's hair during COVID, who now think they can cut every dog's hair, all those. Your business being busy is not guaranteed anymore. So you've got to really invest in that community relationship. If you have a months long waiting list, let's say you are really busy and you've got this months long waiting list, then you need to raise your prices, and that's a whole other topic for a whole other session. But giving back to the community and working with the community is something that's going to be really critical. So how do you identify ideal partners? So whether you're in a small town or you're in a big city, you want to lean into what your differentiating factor is, what your niche is, and what your client base is. And so in the folder for the QR code that I gave you, you're going to see some questions and some prompts that will guide you through finding your client avatar, who is your ideal client, basically. And so our true differentiating factor is truly customized care for dogs who have been rescued, who are sensitive to a group environment. So for grooming, they are just in a one-on-one setting with one groomer and the dog. It's not a full room of groomers. And then same with daycare and boarding, it's a very small customized environment. So that's what we really lean into when we're looking at different partners. We try to find complementary businesses. And with these businesses, we want it to be clients with disposable income or clients who really appreciate utilizing small businesses like ours. So we will partner with local yoga and Pilates studios. If there's some type of health festival, then we talk about the health benefits of grooming the dog on a regular basis. We'll have some information there. We will do work with some local breweries that are really popular. We've got an event coming up in a week or so, or I guess about 2 weeks, with a brewery and a really popular local weatherman, which I know it sounds weird, but really famous weatherman who's in the area. And so we're getting tons of promotion that way. And it's the exact ideal client that we want. We partner with schools and sports teams. So we will sponsor a booster club, athletic club. We have sponsored homework folders where we have our logo and a little first day of, daycare free or a free nail trim, something like that, where every single parent at the school is going to see that. And a lot of times those things don't cost a lot of money, but you can get a huge return on that investment. And then having a consistent presence. So you want to partner with businesses who are organized. They have a strong marketing presence too. They value that marketing presence. That way you're really getting a lot of bang for your buck and you're getting a lot of value. If you wouldn't hire them, if it's painful to work with them and you wouldn't hire them as an employee, then you should not partner with them. That's one of our rules. So here are some examples. We touched on some of these, but veterinarians, obviously, if a vet isn't doing grooming, then a vet is a great business to partner with. In Charlotte, we've got tons of veterinarians, so we select the top 3 vets near each of our locations. and we provide information about puppies. We provide promotional materials. There's, you guys have probably experienced this too, but everybody has a golden doodle, right? And so these golden doodle breeders, what I've found is they tell pet parents, oh, you don't need to get your doodle groomed for the first year of their life. I've heard that so many times, and I don't understand why. You don't need to get your doodle groomed for the first year. Well, there's obviously so many reasons why that's wrong. You've got to get them used to being handled, just basic coat maintenance, all of that. And so if you can put in some of that health and safety information into the veterinarian packets, then that's a really great way to get your business name out there too. Rescues and nonprofits. So here are two of the rescues that we work with, Animal Care and Control, and then the Humane Society of Charlotte. So we do food drives, we sponsor their enrichment program, we go in and we do free baths and grooms every month to help get dogs adopted. All of that gets put on social media, on ours, on theirs, and it just helps to spread the word. Pet stores and services. So if you live in an area where there's water therapy for pets, or pet acupuncture, or pet chiropractic work, those are all great businesses to partner with as well. And then neighborhoods. So oftentimes you can access the neighborhood of, a neighborhood that aligns with your client base. You can talk with their HOA. You can just go drive up and visit the clubhouse and say, hey, we're a grooming business in town. This is what we do. We would love to participate in any events that you're having. And obviously you're not going to be doing haircuts in the middle of a, field or something when there's a festival going on, but maybe you're doing free nail trims, or maybe there's some other special thing that you can offer. So neighborhoods are always looking for businesses to partner with. And then schools and sports as well. So, and I touched on this a little bit. We will sponsor the teachers lounge for a month at a local elementary school, and they provide all the snacks, we pay for it, but then we get to have all of our social pet stuff in the teachers lounge, for them to look at and for them to take. And so goes on their social media, all of the parents see that, and so that's another great way to get our name out there. So they're little things, but they really do a lot. Okay, so in terms of initiating partnerships, a couple things that you want to look at, you want to make sure it's valuable for both parties. So of course it needs to be valuable for you, but you also want it to be valuable for the organization that you're partnering with, and that's going to help make sure that they give you the attention that you deserve. Clear value proposition. So make sure you understand exactly what you're getting for the partnership or the sponsorship that you're entering into. That sounds basic, but sometimes in those conversations it can get a little fuzzy. So just make sure you're very, very clear on that. And then networking is critical. And I am an introvert. If I have to walk into a room of people, I just want to die, to be honest with you. Like I hate it. But when you can go into a business networking group, or maybe there's a couple of women's business groups that I'm a part of where it's a small setting and everybody's kind of there for the same reason, then that makes it a lot easier. And I've had so many referrals from just networking in different community groups, more than I ever expected. So those are some different ways to initiate partnerships. Usually those people either own businesses or are leaders in their business, and so they can connect you with the right person to get those partnerships going. And you have to remember too that you're paying them. So if you're in a partnership and you're sponsoring something that that business is doing, you're paying them. So they should make it easy on you to partner together. So we had a situation last year with the Charlotte Independent Soccer Club that we were sponsoring, and they didn't really fulfill the obligations that they said that they would. And so it was a 2-year agreement. This year we negotiated to get more out of them. So instead of just the men's team, it's also the women's team. It's multiple games instead of just a couple of games. So you got to make sure that you're really getting what you need to get. If it's a big sponsorship, which this one was, then you want to schedule a monthly call to make sure everybody's on the same page with what's supposed to be happening. So open communication, shared goals, mutual respect, all of that is really key. In terms of leveraging partnerships, so here's a couple of different things that you want to do. On social media, you don't want to just tag each other, but you want to actually collaborate on the post. And so you can see in this picture right here, it says CLT Independence and Social Pet Charlotte at the top. And that's a collaboration for a post. And so that means that that post is going out to the Charlotte Independence audience, and it's also going out to our audience as well. So you're getting a lot more viewers, you're reaching a lot more people that way. Sharing each other's services via newsletters, social media, and events, offering co-branded promotions. Those are all things that you want to do as well. So co-branded swag, free tickets to things, free baths or daycare. Those are all things that you can do to help leverage those partnerships. And so you're giving something away a little bit up front, but then you're ideally getting a whole lot back if they're maintained as a client. Make sure that you track the number and the dollars spent per referral source, of course. And I have our marketing plan, or kind of a template of a marketing plan in the Google Drive, where it's going to show you just very simply like how to track all of that and just make sure that you're getting the value and your money's worth. And then also, when you are talking to somebody and entering into a partnership, make sure you say, is there anyone else you think I should talk to? Is there anyone else that you can think of that I could partner with? And anytime I've done that, I've always gotten some really good leads from that. One other way is LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn is not super popular for our industry, but I had somebody reach out to me because we're members of the chamber, the Charlotte Chamber of Commerce. And, she saw I was a member. She saw that I had a presence in the community, that I'd been on podcasts before. And then we ended up advertising with her after I was on her podcast. And then I asked for a reference, before we advertised, because I'm not just throwing my money away. But I said, can I get a reference for, somebody to make sure that this is going to be a legit relationship? And the reference ended up being a really good client. So it's all about just, talking to people and engaging with them and taking advantage of opportunities as you have them. I'm going to pause right here. I can't see the chat. So are there any questions in the chat, Alex or Drake, that I should answer?
No immediate questions. Comments about the doodle breeders.
Yeah, they're oh yeah, I know. It was one of my neighbors who told me that her doodle breeder said, oh, you don't need to be groomed for the first year. And then my face was just like, are you serious? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I guess you don't agree with that. I'm like, no, I don't.
Right.
Oh yeah. Okay.
For
All right.
anybody else, a reminder, you guys can throw questions in the chat or feel free to chime in as well, as long as it's not interruptive.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So next, we're going to talk about utilizing local influencers. So influencers, using influencers is another way to engage with the community and to promote your services. So what I've got here is a little chart for basically how much you should spend per post if you are going to engage with somebody to do influencing, to use your services, and to pay them to, to post basically. I know it feels kind of yucky. We don't want to pay people for, we can't say, I'll give you $100 if you talk about how great I am. You can't do that. But if you can say, I'll give you X amount of dollars and you just share your experience here, or, I'll give you a free groom if you talk about how the groom went, that's okay. And that's a really effective way for other industries to promote their products. People trust other people. So that's something else to consider as well. So that little chart's going to give you some options in terms of about how much you should be paying. Micro influencers, you're going to maybe engage with monthly or quarterly. And it's going to tell you on this chart what a micro influencer is. So 10,000 to 50,000 followers, which is still way more than I personally have. I don't even think I'm a nano influencer. I have like no followers. And then macro influencer, you would pay 1 to 2 times a year. It's more expensive, but you're going to get more bang for your buck. The way that you find these people is by searching on Instagram or TikTok the name of your city. So for us, it would be Charlotte Dogs or Dogs of Charlotte, something like that. If you don't have any pet influencers in your area, then you can try a fellow business owner that aligns with your brand. So maybe you kind of do a swap where you do a post about going to their place or their store, and then they do a post about, engaging with your services. So that's another option as well. All right, so cost versus value. You want to know the lifetime value of a client. So here is kind of a little equation for you. This is based on boarding or daycare, but you could easily swap these numbers out for grooming. Know the lifetime value of a client. So you don't ever want to spend your money, but you do want to invest it. And so, for example, when we were first starting out and we had very little money to spend on marketing or to really do anything in the community, we had a local high school reach out to us about putting an ad in their field hockey program. And it sounded just kind of ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, there aren't a lot of people who play field hockey where we are, and it's not going to reach a lot of people, and it's a physical program, so it's not even digital, but it's the best that we could do. So we put an ad in this field hockey program, and we only got one client out of it, but she spent right around $5,000. And then we tracked the people that she referred, and she referred about $90,000 worth of business to us. So it felt like a big risk at the time because we didn't have a ton of money, but we ended up turning that $150 into $90,000 worth of business. So take a look at those little things as well. Any type of, auction, anything that's happening where you can put maybe a little gift basket together with a gift certificate for services. Just try those things. There's not going to be one, magic bullet, I guess, for what's going to work, but it's a combination of all of these different things. So just got a few slides left. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our marketing plan and some marketing strategies. So you're going to see a copy of this marketing plan in the Google Drive folder that I shared. Here are some of the topics or some of the things that you want to have in there. You need a strategy and goals for your marketing. You can't just post cute dog pictures or, you know, show up to the shelter every other week and hope that something good's going to happen. You've got to make sure that there's an actual strategy and that there's goals. So what's your revenue goals? If you have revenue per dog per day, what are those goals? So those are the things that you really want to plan out. Any projects that you're working on in terms of just at your business, if there's an event happening, or if you are partnering with another organization to work on a project or work on an event, make sure all of that is documented. Your KPIs, key performance indicators, that's how you're going to know that you're performing well. Client avatars. So again, you want to keep updating those client avatars as things change, as things happen with the economy. That's all going to dictate how you engage with the community and where you go in the community. And then different promotions and campaigns that you run. Have all this documented, and then that way, year over year, you're not going to have to recreate the wheel. It's going to be super easy for you. Other marketing strategies, LinkedIn, we already touched on. I'm not super active on LinkedIn, but I do a little bit, enough to maintain a presence. And while there's not a lot of people in our industry on LinkedIn, our clients are. And so what we post on LinkedIn to engage with them is any education that we're doing, any certifications that we get, anything related to the more professional side of the business. And our clients love that. So that's the type of thing that we post on LinkedIn. Google Ads is a whole other beast. We have to hire somebody to help us with that, because I don't 100% understand it, to be quite honest with you. But there are, it can be really effective if you're using it right. And then you do, of course, need to have your Google page, your Google site page up and running. Keep that current, make sure you're posting on it. Any reviews that you get, positive or negative, make sure you respond to those. Press releases. So if you hire a new full-time groomer, or if you are opening another location, or if you get some type of certification, send out a press release to local news outlets. And it's not old school, like sending it to the newspaper, like from 30 years ago. But we have a lot of email newsletters in Charlotte that we really engage with. And so we will send press releases to those outlets in hopes that they will publish information about us. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's always been really beneficial either way. At least they're hearing about it, or they can tell others about it. Job fairs and career programs. So what I've found is that most college age students or high school students, they don't know that you can make a career out of pet care and not be a vet. They think you can either be a vet or that's it. They don't realize that, yes, grooming is very physically demanding. I think it's the most physically demanding part of the pet care industry. But you can make really good money being a groomer. And so if you can talk with high school guidance counselors or college counselors and let them know that you can train somebody with no experience or a little bit of experience, then they can have this really successful, great career in grooming. That's a great way to find staff. It's also another great way to get your name out there. Celebrate your people, education, certifications, work anniversaries, all of those things. Those are all really great ways to, again, engage with the community, put those things on social media, and pet parents love seeing that. They love seeing that you take care of your people. So again, one strategy isn't going to work. You've got to, really work to build a lot of these in. but it's all about the details. So one of my final slides. So the role that we have for this, what I put in the Google Drive is a job description for a marketing specialist role, and then a job description for the director of community engagement role, which is what I am. And so again, the marketing specialist is sort of like an assistant to the director of community engagement. So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on that because you can read it. But these are the things that the marketing specialist is responsible for. So again, just those tangible, like detailed tasks. So that way that person can do that. And so I'm free to network in the community and really pay attention to what's happening in the local environment. The salary for that, it's going to depend on your area, but it's sort of an entry-level salary. I would say an assistant manager to a general manager salary, depending on their responsibilities. Yeah, it's super dependent on where you live and kind of what you're having them do. So, but that is a position that is extremely helpful, and that's going to help you start to build those community things and put all that in place. The marketing role was one of those where it felt like we're not going to have enough for them to do. And then once we had it, we had a ton for them to do. So as soon as you have it, it's great because you can do so much more. So just to wrap up, final thoughts: leave your comfort zone, but stay true to your brand. Again, a lot of us working in the pet care industry, we don't love people. We don't love going out into the community. I'm one of them. Again, I'm super introverted. But you've got to do it. You've got to try new things. You've got to talk to different people. And we work in a field that people are really excited about. Most people love pets. And when you say that you're a dog groomer, the person you're talking to wants to show you their dog. So it's a really great conversation starter. It makes it easy to talk about. Again, new competitors and private equity, there's just so much of that coming around. You can't take business for granted anymore. So you've got to start doing some of these things. Pick one strategy and start with that. Can't just post pictures on Facebook. Everybody's doing that. It's cute and it's nice, but that's not going to get you very far. And then, of course, you don't have to do all of this yourself. Delegate it or hire somebody to do it. And I put those job descriptions in there for you so that way you can do it. We can't do it all. If you're grooming full time, between the dogs and the clients, and if you have a staff, you have more than a full-time job. So don't be afraid to hire somebody, and you will see a return on that investment. You definitely will. Okay, so that's all I have. I know I kind of flew through that, but yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. And then here's where you can get in touch with me. You can follow us on social media, and then here's the QR code to scan so you can get the handouts from the Google Drive. And then if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording, everybody, so we all feel comfortable showing our faces and asking some questions.